The single biggest threat to the U.S. economy? It was never the AI bubble. It was never China. And no, it wasn't the loud guy in the Oval Office either. It's something way more boring, something you've probably never even heard of, unless you've gone way too deep down the finance rabbit hole. And honestly, that's exactly why nobody's watching it. Because if you've ever wondered why mortgage rates just won't drop, why stocks randomly lose their minds every few months, or why the Fed keeps hinting at rate cuts, but everything still feels tight, the answer doesn't start in Washington. It starts in Tokyo. And weirdly enough, it starts with the most boring thing on the entire planet: Japanese government bonds. See, the country famous for anime and bullet trains has also been the quiet duct tape holding the entire global financial system together for 30 years. And that duct tape, it's starting to peel. But to get why Japan matters this much, we gotta rewind back to the early 90s. Around 1992, Japan's massive asset bubble popped. Real estate crashed, stocks crashed, and Japan slid into what people now call the lost decades. Picture 3 straight decades of nothing, no real growth, no inflation, no rising wages. It's like the whole economy hit the pause button and lost the remote. So the Bank of Japan did what central banks do when they're totally out of ideas. They cut rates to zero. Then they cut below zero. And when that didn't work, they rolled out this thing called yield curve control. Sounds like a Marvel villain, right? But really it just means we're going to nail long-term bond yields to the floor, whether the market likes it or not. Basically, Japan superglued interest rates to the ground. So for years and years, Japanese bonds paid pretty much nothing, and that created a huge headache for Japanese investors. Think about it. You're running a Japanese pension fund or a giant insurance company. You've got $1 billion portfolio, and your own government bonds are paying you a fat 0%. So you've got 2 choices. 1, accept 0, or 2, go shopping overseas. Guess which one they picked? Japan kicked off a decades-long global shopping spree, and they went big. They became the largest foreign holder of U.S. government debt, one of the biggest buyers of American mortgage bonds, and the world's largest creditor nation, which is just a fancy way of saying Japan basically became the world's ATM. And it wasn't out of love for America, it's because the math just worked. Here's how. Meet Bob. Bob wants to make some money, so Bob goes to Japan and borrows yen at basically 0 interest. Then he swaps that yen into dollars and buys U.S. bonds paying 4%. After the fees and hedging, Bob pockets the difference. That, my friend, is the yen carry trade. Borrow cheap in Japan, invest where returns are higher, keep the spread. And when borrowing costs are basically free, people don't just buy safe bonds. They buy tech stocks, they buy real estate, they buy emerging markets. Honestly, if it's got a pulse and it pays more than 0%, they're buying it. That's why, for years, this one trade became one of the biggest sources of money flowing through the entire global system. At its peak, some banks estimated it in the trillions. Market was running on Japan's Wi-Fi. But here's the catch. This whole thing rested on one assumption. One, that Japanese rates would stay near 0 forever. And in 2024, that assumption cracked. The Bank of Japan finally ended yield curve control, and for the first time in 17 years, Japan raised rates. Then they raised them again, and right after that second hike, the S&P 500 dropped 6%, and Japan's own market, the Nikkei, cratered over 12% in a single day, its worst crash since 1987. Yeah, markets were officially freaked out. Because when Japanese yields rise, 2 things happen. 1, borrowing yen gets pricier, and 2, hedging your currency risk gets pricier too. Suddenly, the free money isn't so free, and that shiny 4% bond Bob was eyeing doesn't look so juicy anymore. This was the beginning of the end for the carry trade. The math flipped, and when the math flips, the money flips too. All that cash that flowed out of Japan for 30 years, it's starting to come home. That's called repatriation, and it's one of the scariest slow-motion threats in markets right now. Because investors are finally waking up to an ugly truth. The cheapest money on earth for the last 3 decades isn't cheap anymore. But here's why it actually matters to you. For decades, Japan wasn't just some random buyer of U.S. debt. They were one of the most reliable, price-insensitive buyers of long-term bonds, meaning they bought no matter what. And here's the key. Long-term yields aren't set by Jerome Powell. The Fed controls short-term rates. But the 10-year, the 20, the 30-year, those are driven by good old supply and demand. And that's the lever everyone's ignoring. Even legendary investor Ray Dalio has hammered this point. He calls the bond market the backbone of all markets, the risk-free rate that basically decides what every other investment is worth. And when the supply and demand for bonds breaks down, you see it. Long-term rates climb, the currency slips, gold jumps. And that puts the Fed in a serious bind. So while everyone's out there analyzing Powell's press conferences like it's the next GTA 6 trailer, they're staring at the wrong end of the curve. The Fed nudges short-term rates, but the long end? That's supply and demand. And here's the kicker. The U.S. is running trillion-dollar deficits every single year, which means the Treasury has to pump out mountains of new debt just to keep the lights on. And someone has to buy all that debt. For decades, Japan was a huge part of that buying machine. Quick pause, because this video is brought to you by Gamma. Honestly, the hardest part of making finance videos isn't the research. It's turning a mess of scattered ideas into something clear. When I'm breaking down stuff like the carry trade, my brain's all over the place. Notes everywhere, half-baked thoughts, connections that only make sense to me. That's where Gamma comes in. It's not just a slideshow tool. It's the bridge between messy ideas and polished output. I start in Claude, dump in my research and notes, flip on the Gamma connector, and just ask it to build a deck. Seconds later, a clean, structured presentation. And if I add new info later, it updates the deck automatically. No starting over. It even connects to GitHub, Notion, and Gmail. Check it out at gamma.app or find it right inside Claude. Big thanks to Gamma for sponsoring. Okay, back to how Japan could wreck the whole thing. Because if one of the biggest historical buyers of U.S. debt suddenly steps back, yields have to rise to lure in new buyers. That's supply and demand, plain and simple. And here's the wild part. This is how the Fed can cut rates, and it still doesn't help. Short-term rates fall, but long-term rates stay stuck up high. That's called a steepening yield curve. And once long rates stop cooperating, this stops being a bond story. It becomes an everything story. Here's why. When Wall Street values a stock, they use long-term yields to do the math. When those yields stay high, future earnings are worth less today, so valuations shrink. Stocks trade at lower multiples. Even if a company's making great money, investors just won't pay as much for it. That's why markets can suddenly feel shaky, even when the headlines look totally calm. And it doesn't stop at stocks. That 10-year yield isn't just some nerdy number on a screen. It sets the price of money itself. It's the foundation under basically everything. Take mortgages. Mortgage rates are glued to long-term Treasury yields. So if the 10-year doesn't actually fall, mortgage rates aren't drifting back to 3% anytime soon. The Fed can slash rates all day, but if the world stops buying U.S. debt, the long end stays pinned. And that means high mortgage rates, brutal housing affordability, and a frozen market. Same story with companies. Remember 2020 and 2021? Money was practically free. Businesses were borrowing like it was Black Friday and debt was 90% off. Cheap credit means more deals, bigger valuations, more everything. Because credit is the bloodstream of the corporate world. But if borrowing stays expensive, flip it. Risk appetite drops, growth slows, money tightens up. And this is the whole point. For 30 years, America sat on the winning end of the biggest carry trade in history. And now, that trade is unwinding. Like Dalio said, the bond market is the backbone of everything. And right now, we're watching something real reshape that backbone. So why isn't the media screaming about this? Simple, it's not clickable. Nobody's trending on Twitter with, "Let's talk about Japanese capital flows." That takes patience, nuance, more brain cells than doom scrolling allows. People want inflation, they want AI, they want whatever NVIDIA did last week, the loud stuff, the headline stuff. So the story gets dumbed down to, the Fed cuts rates, everything's fine. And that's the lie. That one rate cut fixes it all. That liquidity is just automatic. That someone will always show up to buy our debt. But what if they don't? What if the biggest foreign holder of U.S. debt quietly steps back? Then global liquidity tightens, and liquidity is the oxygen of markets. When it thins out, the cost of money changes everywhere. Stocks, mortgages, credit, all of it. And that's exactly why I built this channel, to shine a light on the stuff that actually matters. The stuff traditional media won't touch because it doesn't get clicks. So if you want to know what's really happening out there, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the real threats in markets aren't the loud ones. Those are already priced in. The real threats? They're the ones hiding in plain sight.